you. And we're all also still cash and check only. But we do have an ATM machine inside. It takes debit cards and credit cards. Um, don't worry if you forgot your cash or your PIN number. We work it out with everybody. Doug will holler, we have a dishwasher. But we do IOUs or we can figure it out. I do have Venmo and Zelle if somebody gets stuck with that. Also, tipping. We just ask you not to tip a person or leave it on the table. Very different style restaurant here. We all make exactly the same. Everybody gets paid exactly the same, whether they're washing dishes or they're a waitress or they're a chef or they're cleaning the restaurant. So you put it in the gratuity basket. Everybody shares it. You'll see the gratuity basket when you check out. Give it to one person, leave it on the table. One person's very happy. But we have a lot of mothers and daughters and grandmothers, a lot of relatives that all work together and stuff. So we just want to keep everybody happy. I think that covers most everything. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, while we have a few minutes, I'm going to tell you Miss Wilkes' story. If you go in, don't worry about Aunt Marcia will be here. She walks around and she can tell the rest of the story or talk to you, or like I said, we come back down. But Mrs. Wilkes was born in 1907. She was the oldest of 4 children. And her mother taught her everything about cooking at a very young age. And this was in Savannah, Georgia, about 90 miles from here. They had their own farm. Unfortunately, her mother knew that she was ill, and that's why she was teaching her how to cook. And she did pass away when Mrs. Wilkes was only 9 years old, but she taught her everything about cooking by the age of 9, so she could cook for all the family and the farm hands. And of course, being back in the day, things were always happening. When she was 12 years old, Spanish flu came in, almost killed them all. The children survived, but her father didn't. So at the age of 12, she's now the oldest of 4 orphans, and of course they couldn't run the farm, so they had to go live with some relatives. We're not sure who chose them, but it wasn't a good choice. We tend to call them the evil aunt and uncle. One thing was they found out she could cook and kind of abuse the situation, had her cooking for family and friends. But then they were also selling her food, like they were putting her cream corn in little mason jars. And she didn't know until somebody asked her in town one day, and when she got home, she asked her aunt, she said, that's none of your business, and you're very fortunate that we allow y'all to live here. That wasn't kind, and I think that's why when she turned 16, she got married to Mr. Wilkes. He was 17 years old, and they left immediately. They went back to Savannah, Georgia, to start their own farm, but she did not leave before taking her younger siblings with her. So they all went back, started it, everything went well for a while. Of course, here comes the war, the depression, and then our military approached them one day and said, we need your land for a landing strip. Well, if you know our government, eminent domain took effect, so you do have to leave your property. They give you time to get it together. Of course, they pay you for it, but everybody says it's never enough. I'm sure Mr. Wilkes was making such as in-law, I mean, the children, he needs to feed them. So they were trying to figure out what to do, and they ended up, they heard that railroad workers were needed in Savannah. So he decided, I'm going to venture off to Savannah, see about work for the railroad. And she's like, okay, I'll get things together here, and I'll come see you on the weekend. Well, it was a true blessing. She would say it's not a coincidence. She was a big Christian lady. And so he did get on the railroad, and he was actually staying here. This was originally called the Hartridge House. Now, this was in the early 40s, and that's where everybody used to really stay, was in boarding houses. There were about 12 in Savannah at the time. This also was a time when Savannah wasn't doing well. Crime was at its highest. Everybody was kind of moving out of the city, maybe for very cheap housing, but made it very hard for the owners to retire and want to sell theirs. Meanwhile, Mr. Wilkes, when he was staying here, Mrs. Wilkes would come in on the weekend stuff, and she'd come stay, and she started working here when she was here and to make some extra money and stuff. And so the owners started talking to her about taking it over. And she was like, oh, no, I would never be in the food industry, And they said, well, you really should be, because everybody's starting to ask now, when is that lady going to be here cooking again? They just want to eat here when you're actually, cooking. And so after they got to know her a little better and found out what a big Christian lady she was, they kind of started talking to her differently, like, God would want everyone to get 3 square meals a day. It's not happening. We're not taking it over, And so she did eventually take it over right then of 1942. She made some homemade renovations and opened up 1943. When she did, she was a one-woman show. She cooked it, served it, cleaned up. After she had a little cigar box, she paid her and she put it in there. Now her younger siblings had already ventured out on their own. That's why she ended up opening it by herself. And she had a little boy in the neighborhood. She'd run him upstairs, and she would tell him to open door number 1 or door number 2 to bring him down. And when she first started, she started with 3 meals a day, Monday through Saturday. She did drop Saturday after a while because it got into family time. We've always been Monday through Friday, but we did start with 3 meals a day. And that's what she was doing. And like I said, now this was built in 1869. So we only have 2 restrooms inside also, to let you know. And but there's 2 front doors because this is actually 2 houses. So when you're in the first dining room, you're in the first house. You're in the second dining room, you're in the second house. Oh, y'all going in, they look happy. So Mrs. Wilkes did, open up, like I said, she was a one-woman show. And then things got kind of changed one day when there was a gentleman staying here, and he told the little boy, he said, hey, you wake me up in the morning, you wake me up first, and I get the first hot biscuit out of the oven from Mrs. Wilkes, I'll give you a little pocket change. So the little boy's like, okay, I can do that. So he did it, and it worked, and his little wheels got to turn, and he thought, well, if I offer this to everybody, I can make a lot of money. And he did, and it worked. Everybody showed up the next day, and Ms. Wilkes was panicking, and Mr. Wilkes was trying to help her, and she's like, I don't know what happened. Everybody showed up at once. This has never happened. And he said, I know what it is. It's your food. They smell it. It's drawing them down here. She's like, yeah, but you don't understand. I'm a one-woman show. I'll cook it clean. He said, I understand. He said, get the people to help you. She goes, no, we can't afford that. He goes, oh, no. Get the people to help you after they eat your food. Once they eat your food, they go do anything that you ask them. And he said, after they eat, just ask them to kindly take their plate, cup, and utensils, drop it in the kitchen. On the way out, then they'll pay you in your little cigar box and be on the way. So she tried it and it worked. So we still do it today. When Laverne brings out your dessert, a little bit later, she's going to ask you to keep Mrs. Wilkes' tradition, and that's to take your plate, cup, and utensils, drop them at the kitchen. On your way out, you'll come out the same door you go in. Doug will be there. That's who you pay when you leave, just like we've done since 1943. But after that, Miss Wilkes did find out what that little boy was doing. She's like, don't do that again. She goes, you come to me and let me know. And so after that, everything kind of stayed the same for a while. And Miss Wilkes was solely going on the word of mouth of the railroad workers that were staying here. And thank goodness they had big mouths. She was a great cook, nice Southern hospitality. But Mrs. Wilkes was very chintzy. Not any advertising. She wasn't doing any. We're still kind of the same way. Of course, we do have Facebook and that's all really. But everybody got to talking about, how the food was, so kept her busy. And then we really got a big boom in 1968. She got featured by the New York Times and Esquire magazine, and that put us on the map. We got so busy, she actually stopped serving dinner after that because everybody just wanted to come. They were calling her Southern to the core, and who's this lady Southern to the core with her fried chicken and collard greens and mac and cheese. And so it was really great, kept us so busy that, like I said, we stopped dinner. Then everything was kind of the same again, but we got another big boom in the 70s. In 1973, Mrs. Wilkes went on the Today Show, and Bryant Gumbel and Jane Pauley were interviewing her, and Jane Pauley said, oh, you're the chicken lady. How's this compared to the Colonel? Mrs. Wilkes said, oh, if the Colonel made chicken this good, he would have been a general. Everybody likes it. You go in, you'll see the aprons, everything says if the Colonel made chicken this good, he would have been a general.
We'll get you next in just a minute. Is there another 2 right there?
2. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Please watch your step through that
Okay.
hallway over there. There's a step up.
Okay.
Okay, we're back for the next
Watch your step up,
Okay.
lady, okay?
Thank you.
Watch your step, love.